Welcome back to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, search Locked On Sports Atlanta. Make sure you check out all of the shows here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, whether it's A to Z with me, Hitting Hard with John Chuckery, or ATL Day Ones. Jarvis Davis and Denitra Batiste hosting that show. Don't forget about our Braves postcast with Grant McCauley. Of course, Locked On Hawks with Brad Rowland and Locked On Falcons with Aaron Freeman. And again, we're getting closer to the NFL draft, so Aaron will join us next week once again as we try to figure out where the Falcons are going to go and how they're going to approach this draft process. I'm starting to narrow down like my focus and thinking where and what they should do, and at least prioritizing, the way I would help rebuild this roster, and looking at the needs of this team and looking at the direction that they want to go, and figuring out how they are going to climb out of this situation first and foremost. And it's interesting because yesterday was the first day of voluntary OTAs, organized team activities, conditioning workouts and things at the facility. It is not mandatory for all the players to be there. Grady Jarrett wasn't there yesterday. He doesn't have to be. I always side with the players on this thing. These guys, the ones who are serious about this and the ones who are really good, know that their body is everything that they need to be successful in the league. They know how to take care of their body. They know what to do in the offseason. They can do it on their own. They're all big boys. They don't need adult supervision doing this stuff. So I'm very pro player in this stuff. The guys who want to show up and hang out with the guys, great. If you're in town, great. It's one of those things where it's like, hey, if my wife or girlfriend or significant other didn't plan a vacation and I'm in town, I'll go. If I'm not, I'm not, hopping on a plane and going. I totally okay with players not showing up to this stuff. You have to trust them. And if you don't, then why are they on your roster? But one of the veterans who was there yesterday was Jake Matthews. And Jake is as seasoned a veteran as there is on this team. He is reliable. He's durable. He certainly plays. He's one of the most important pieces to this organization and has been for quite some time. And you want to talk about a draft pick that has worked out the way you want it to. Jake Matthews is the epitome of that. Is he a top 5 tackle in this league? No. But has he been a consistent, durable, reliable option on the left side of that offensive line? Yes. You don't hear about many problems with Jake Matthews. So he's never been, that is a successful home run draft pick by the previous administration that drafted him. That's exactly what you want out of was he 4th or 6th overall? I forget. But anyway, a pick that high, that's exactly what you want. If you get Kyle Pitts to play for you for 10 years and is healthy and produces at that level, not great all-pro, consistent top 5 every year level, but just really good, really consistent, then yes, that's a very successful draft pick. But anyway, I say all this because Jake Matthews gave a comment yesterday. I'm going to read it to you here. That, again, part of me is like, I don't know if the Falcons understand the assignment and what's in front of them. And if they do understand the assignment, they certainly don't act like they understand the assignment. And this is the quote from Jake Matthews. Quote, "It's exciting what we got going on here. I'm really optimistic about what's going on and the thing we're building. We have a high expectation for ourselves. There's no doubt this year. We don't look at it as rebuilding or anything like that." Okay. Glad you're optimistic. Fine with that. Glad you have high expectations. Fine with that. Here's the problem, Jake. If it's not a rebuilding year, and you can go on and say that, and Arthur Smith can say it, and Terry Fontenot can say it, and Arthur Blank can say it. If you're not rebuilding, then the expectation is that you are playoff caliber. You're not a playoff caliber team. You don't have a playoff caliber roster. You don't have a playoff caliber quarterback. You're not. So continually telling us this whole offseason, this is not a rebuilding year. That's not the way we look at it. Every failure is going to be magnified and compared against that standard. Meaning, when you lose week 1 to a bad team, you're going to get crucified for it because you're not rebuilding. At least that's what I will say when this season starts. And if they allow me back into the room to question the coach and question everybody else, that's the exact caveat I'll give to the question. You told us you weren't rebuilding. You don't look like a team that is ready to compete. Why? And that is a 100% fair question to ask. And it is 100% fair to phrase it that way because I'm using your words. You told us you're not rebuilding. then you better play like you're not rebuilding. But you don't have players or enough players to prove you're not rebuilding. Now, you can turn around and say, well, the previous regime, they put all these players on this roster. This is our second year at this thing. Lazy. The problem is you don't understand the assignment. The problem is it's okay to say you're rebuilding when you're rebuilding. Lower the expectation. Players can have high expectations. They can say that. Coaches can have high expectations. They can say that. That's totally okay. I mean, it's something I done in the military for 20 years, right? State the expectations as the standard, and this is what we are, and this is what we do. No matter where we are right now, we may be below the standard, but you know what? This is our standard, and this is where we're going to go, and this is what we expect. It's okay to say that. But also understanding that when you talk, you go, well, look, we're starting from a really bad spot, and we've got to get back up to where we are. So let's make sure we have some context. But you keep telling everybody that this isn't rebuilding, takes out all the context. I don't know why they want to keep pounding this drum. I'm not sure what, is it a ticket sales thing? Are you just afraid nobody's going to show up? Psst, I got news for you, Art. Both Arts. Nobody's coming anyway. Because we can see this is rebuilding. I mean, I don't, it's just a weird stance for the organization. Like, it's really, really tough for me to wrap my head around the organization's philosophy here. What you say inside the building is one thing. What you say outside to everybody else is completely different, and that's okay. I just, I don't get this logic. I think you're setting yourself up for failure. I think you are setting yourself up to look incompetent because you're telling us one thing and you're doing another. You don't leave $45 million dead in cap space if you're not rebuilding. You just don't do it. Competitive teams aren't in that situation. Like, the Saints had no cap room, and the Saints had deferred money and would have no cap room for years. But you know what they didn't have? $45 million in dead cap space, because they were always competitive, because they were never rebuilding. I mean, it just, everything that people with half a working brain who understand football today in 2022 can see lets us know that we are in a rebuilding mode, and that's okay. That's okay. Stop telling your players to stop telling us we're not rebuilding. Stop telling the coaches and the front office tells us we're not rebuilding. We're rebuilding. Embrace it, man. It's like going on The Biggest Loser and then telling people, psst, you're not overweight. You're good. You look great. The hell are you on The Biggest Loser for then? Seriously, like, help me out here. It's okay to be rebuilding. It's okay to be rebuilding and fixing it. It's okay to be overweight and losing it. Like, I mean, these are just, but the obvious is right there for all of us to see. I need you to grasp it with me, really. I don't want to hear people telling me you're not rebuilding. You are. Deal with it. We'll see where the rebuilding starts on the draft next Thursday, which I still can't figure out what they're going to do. All right, coming up next. In a topic that's very passionate to me, and you probably know where I'm going, this is one of the stupidest parallels I've ever heard from somebody who's supposed to be really smart. You'll hear that coming up next. It's A to Z right here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast, search Locked On Sports Atlanta.